time we did another one of our video reviews. As you noticed, we're doing Tangerine Dream Electronic Meditation. The reason for picking this one for a video review is because it's really important to get across to you just how different from ordinary Tangerine Dream this is. Although the sound of a balloon being rubbed isn't on the record, that was just me moving my son's balloon out of my way. So, to begin with, you could be mistaken for thinking this sounds pretty much like ordinary early Tangerine Dream. Forgiven only if you've not heard this record before. This is just a teasing intro. Did you hear a drum there? That got phased out of Tangerine Dream pretty quickly. But it's not just any old drummer. For on this album, drummer in Tangerine Dream, is Klaus Schulze. Before he joined Asherah Temple, before he often became a solo electronics guru, he was here, Tangerine Dream. And that's not all, because Schulze might be manning up the drums. Edgar, the mainstay of Tangerine Dream, on this one, is playing guitar. So what's that other sound you hear, you may ask? It's a violin, I think. Yes, pretty sure it's a violin. And that has been handled by Konrad Schnitzler, who would go on to form Cluster with a K, and then go off to be Eruption and his own Bad Self. So this isn't any old Tangerine Dream album. This is the first Tangerine Dream album. You can't use the term supergroup because this is where they started out, but it's one hell of a lineup. If you were to say who's it the most like, I'd say Schnitzler's influence looms largest on this album. Schulze, Frozer, they're on there, but particularly like here on the opening track, which is called Genesis, I hear Schnitzler. Now, this is side one, there's two tracks here. This is Genesis, which is 6 minutes. But then we get the 18-minute, 25-second epic Journey Through a Burning Brain. Now, that is one track that has been included on some Tangerine Dream compilations, but in a hideously remixed form. Oh, gone too far back. This is the ending of Genesis. And this is the beginning of Journey Through a Burning Brain. Can you imagine 18 minutes long, and in the, where are we? My digit says 1987, but that's when this was reissued. Pretty sure this is 70 or 71. An 18-minute track, well, it may as well be about 3 or 4 different tracks merged together for all the progressions and changes it goes through. So we'll take you a hopping and a skipping through, as we always do. So here's a nice organ-heavy moment. Some space twang there from Froze. See, I mean, it's a unique entry in the Tangerine Dream discography, this album. I think it's fair to say that with Tangerine Dream, it's their 5th album, Phaedra, where they get their first synthesizer and the real changes begin. It's not unusual for fans to view the first 4 albums, which is this, Atom, Alpha Centauri and Sight, as the 4 krautrock albums before they became the modern Tangerine Dream. A bit like how the first 3 Kraftwerk albums are viewed as the krautrock ones before they become electro-pop, with Autobahn being a gateway album, half and half. Let's take you further towards the end of this one. shame Schultz gave up drumming because he really has a mad crazed. Could have been the German Keith Moon. And in Gafrosa, there's too, roaring that axe up. There is a video from this era on YouTube. It's something they did on German TV, a live session. If you search for bathtub session, you'll find this, what appears to be this lineup, rocking out. Okay, side 2. As you may notice, I flipped the record. We have a Cold Smoke, which according to my record sleeve is exactly 11 minutes long. Gazing down here upon the vinyl grooves, the changes and progressions are very obvious. Again, a nice slow intro. Really, you start side 1, start side 2. Aren't that strange for Tangerine Dream? It's just what the records go on to become. Catches people out. Here we are halfway through. Drums of thunder from Schultz. Someone probably froze. Playing strange arch, baroque keyboards in a horror movie style. Horror movie meets psychedelic rock though. We'll jump along a little further towards the end of this epic. So really, you could argue they paved the way for Asherah Temple, who the band Schultz would go on to join. Here we have Ashes to Ashes, far shorter track, 3 minutes 50 seconds. Taking a more mellow stone groove approach. So, I think it's no exaggeration to say this is space rock, psychedelic space rock. And then moving on to the last track, final track of the album is Resurrection. 10 seconds short of an Ashes to Ashes. It sounds a bit like the beginning of Genesis. Probably cut from the same session, same jam. So this lineup did just this one album. There's a contemporary 7-inch single called Ultima Thule, Thule. I'm probably mispronouncing it. I do struggle with my THs. And that's often included as a bonus on the CD versions. It's like a James Brown track. It's part 1 on side 1 and part 2 on side 2. Thinking that's the same lineup. It recently got reissued for Record Store Day 2012, but some twat in the queue before me beat me to it. So I don't have the 7-inch. If I did, probably would put it on now as a kind of epilogue. But as epilogues go, I don't think you could argue too much with Resurrection. So whatever your feelings about the modern day synthesizer group Tangerine Dream, this is a completely different onion. It has to be approached in its own right, as its own piece of work, and it has to be respected, I'd argue. I know Tangerine Dream fans tend to hate it because it's not their Tangerine Dream. Well, just have to make it our Tangerine Dream.